Welcome back, everyone, to Family Voice Talk Radio with B.J. Stover and today's guest, Nicholeen Peck. Hope you got that paper and pencil ready, because we're going to be doing some really fun stuff now. In fact, Nicholeen is going to begin today by this segment by giving you a list of different kinds of parenting. And so you can actually decide what kind of a parent you are. Which category do you fall into?
Well, it's going to be hard to give away what one I don't like, what one I like best, right? Oh. It's going to be hard to be, don't give it away. I'll try not to. Throw out all the information, see where you fall, then I'll tell you what I like best.
Right.
I'll try.
Okay.
They could even put it in a chart, perhaps. So
yeah.
If you wrote down a column, the first column, and you put 3 boxes down that column, we'll have 3 rows going across, and you can start listing things about those 3 different kinds that we're going to talk about today.
Good idea. So you're going to do a list like a 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to have spaces over here for information that are going to go right along the side of each one of those.
Right, yeah.
So got your pencils ready. Here we go.
Yeah, this will be fun. Okay, so first, before we even, get into this too deep, I want you to think about yourself as a parent. When something goes wrong, when one of your teenage children or young children is having a tantrum, because they both have tantrums in their own way, when they're doing that, what do you do? What did you do last time?
Wow.
If you can think about that, how did you respond? Did you just go and sit on the couch and just pout and be like, Calgon, take me away, I can't do this, I'm so frustrated? Did you call your mother and cry? Did you get angry? Did you choose not to talk to them and storm off? Did you spank them or hit them? What was it that you did to try to get them to stop doing whatever it was they were doing? That is a picture you must keep vivid in your mind. Whether you know it's right or wrong to do whatever you've done is beside the point at this point. So now you know what you have a tendency to do. Now we're going to talk about 3 different kinds of parenting, 3 different forms or models of parenting, and the different aspects to those forms and models. And then you can maybe get an idea of how you can change. So you can put yourself in a category and then go, wait, do I want to be in that category? Maybe I'll pick a different one. Yeah. So we'll start doing that. All right.
Okay, hold on just a second.
Ahead.
I just want to put something out to everybody. We're doing this. This is not about judgment.
No.
There's no judgment. This is learning new skills.
Absolutely.
In fact, I heard something today. I was at a 2-day conference, and I'm not going to talk about it today, but it happened to be on parenting and foster parenting. And one of the comments was, babies, we always say babies don't come with a manual, and yet they are the manual. Their behavior is the manual, because how you interact with them and how they respond says, this is what you do, or this is what you don't do.
And I believe that children always tell you what they need.
Yes, I do too.
They really do. I call it Janet's junk food principle. That's what I call it. Like when your child's always saying, I want a cookie, Mom, can I have a candy? Can I have a popsicle? Can I have then they need carrots, right? Doesn't every mother say you need carrots? How about an apple? Let's eat some salad.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. They're telling you what they've had too much of. That's what's happening. And so the same thing happens when a child's like, I want video games, I want video games, I want video games. A really smart mother knows that she goes, actually, you need to sit on the couch and read a book with me. Let's have some time with us. Let's not disconnect anymore.
So she went right to the relationship. That's so key. You need to do this with me. So.
Yes, exactly, because the relationship ties everything together.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, if you can, and I know I've probably shared this with you before, BJ, but for the audience, if you can picture a wagon wheel, the center of the wagon wheel is your core principles, the things that you believe that you want your children to be rooted in. And then those spokes of the wagon wheel are all the different things that you teach your children. You teach them how to pray and eat healthy and exercise and do their math and all those great things. And then that rim around the outside of the wagon wagon wheel, that's the relationship. That holds all the teaching into the core. Without that relationship, your wheel, it doesn't work.
That's true.
They're just pieces. That's all it is. And so the relationship holds everything we do as parents together. So
Okay, back to our
yeah,
list
sorry,
here.
you know, we could really get distracted.
I know, it's such fun, isn't it?
Okay. So the first group, the first type of parenting down the side that you want to write is you want to write modern progressive parenting. Now, progressive, some people may have a negative connotation with that term. Some people may have a positive connotation with that term. I am not talking about politics, just so you know. Just so you know. I am talking about the idea of moving on. Okay?
Okay.
Of saying, wait a minute, I was beat up as a child. There's no way I'm doing that with my children. I'm going to the other end of the spectrum. They get all the choice, and that's it.
Yep.
And that's because the next group down, the next one on the forms, is the bullying, fear-based parenting.
Whoa.
And we all probably know what that looks like, right? Somebody being very aggressive, almost animalistic, kind of survival of the fittest, and they're very destructive. The form is destructive. In fact, the modern progressive form is destructive as well.
Uh-huh.
And we'll talk about how that's so really quickly. And then the third group is what I call the traditional strict. Okay, so I'm embracing strict now. In fact, my next book that I'm co-writing with some people is going to be called Strict Parents Speak Out, so watch out for that one.
I love it.
It's
Sounds
coming.
wonderful.
It's coming. Anyway, and that is the only constructive form, so there you go. I gave away which one I like best, right, already, right at the beginning. But I want to talk about the mode. So we talked about how progressive is to move on, to say, listen, we're not doing that parenting of the past. We're doing something different. We're moving on. It's very passive. It's like somebody else gets to make the choice. I don't want to have to pick. So somebody else gets to decide everything. And it's very popular right now. There is no parental power, really. The parent has turned all the power over to the child.
Okay, so there are no rules, there's no dinner time, there are no chores that need to be done.
Not really. It's like, oh, you don't want what's for dinner, I'll make you something else.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that pros and cons. I mean, that's a really easy little thing to say. But for instance, I met a lady once. She was talking about Halloween, and she says, you know, it really bugs me that some people will like make their kids stop trick or treating at a certain age. And I said, oh, why does that bug you? And she said, well, they know when there should be done. You know, I don't need to tell them. And plus some people, they don't want their kids to wear certain kinds of scary costumes. Well, they know what's too dark for them. They know. And I'm thinking to myself, do they really? Do they really know? Because if you never give them any kind of right or wrong, good or bad, true and false, what are they measuring it against? Just society? Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's just about legalism. Is it just what's against the law? Is that what's wrong and everything else is just subjective? That's kind of what it's like for the modern progressive parent. And they often feel like the child is leading them. So you'll hear parents say, well, my 3-year-old's in charge of our house. Well,
okay.
Because the child is leading, right? The parent is just management. They're just facilitating things, doing entertainment and presenting opportunities. But it's really tyranny, and the child is the tyrant.
Yes.
That's what's happening. Okay, so going to bullying, fear-based, there is really no leader. It's tyranny again, but it's not real leadership. It's just enforcement. It's like law enforcement, and the what's right or wrong is just determined by what bugs the parent. You know, what the parent wants or doesn't want, but it's not really based on anything foundational, nothing principled and that kind of thing. And then the traditional parent, the traditional strict, the parent leads and models all the behaviors. So if they know that if their child is going to change a behavior, such as maybe it's cussing or maybe it's attitude problem, the parent looks at themselves and says, do I cuss? Do I have an attitude problem? Oh, maybe I'm showing that behavior. How am I going to change my behavior? What's the principles to change it? Okay, now how am I going to give that skill to the children? And then they turn around and offer it up to the children instead. So just to give you a few things to identify these with, and then we can move on to some other specifics.
Okay.
So modern progressive, like I said, is very subjective. It's very confusing. It's kind of lonely. The child doesn't know what's right or wrong, so they feel almost abandoned. Like, what do I pick? You know, what's right? It's so confusing for them, and it's almost like water. Like they're just gonna go to the path of least resistance because it seems the easiest. They're playing systems a lot, and they're often very lazy because they've just been indulged and haven't had to hold themselves to any principles.